Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the motion graphics tutorials, where I make motion graphics tutorials because there's pretty much nothing else to do. My name is Raphael, and this is what we're going to be doing today. So in this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to make these words appear, how to create these blocks that kind of reveal the words and then disappear. And we're going to have our text underlined and reveal my name. To top it off, we're also going to have part of the word here underlined or actually highlighted, and everything's going to be kind of zooming in while we do that. And we're also going to be looking at some plugins that are going to help us with this project. Now, before you log off this video, because I know some people don't want to spend a lot of money on things like plugins, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do it without the plugins as well, but I will be recommending two of my favorites that you should definitely consider getting if you're serious about doing a lot of motion graphics in the future. It'll just save you a lot of time. But enough of that, let's just go ahead and get started. So let's start by making new composition and titling it title animation. Alright, for the settings we're just going to work with 1920 by 1080, 60 frame rate, and set the duration to about 6 seconds. Click OK. Next we're going to create a new solid. Alright, and now for the new solid that we're going to create and all the colors that we're going to be using in this video, what we're actually going to want to do is go to Adobe Colors. And the reason that we're doing that is that when you do anything visual or any design or anything like that, you really want to have an established color scheme that's going to be consistent in a composition. So the reason that we're going to Adobe Colors is that it has like a bunch of different color palettes already set up for you, and they work very nice together. So for this project that I'm working on right now, I picked this color scheme, and we're just going to use this color right here for our solid. It already copies it to your clipboard. So what I have to do is go back to the project and double click the colors, and all you have to do is just Control V and it will put the color in for you. You click OK, and you click OK here. Perfect. And so you actually want to go ahead and lock that layer because we're not going to be touching that. Next we're going to hit Control T to bring up our text, or you can hit the text tool up here, and we're just going to type something different than what I had in the original. Something like this video is totally awesome. Alright, like that. I'm just going to scale that up about there. I'm going to change this font to a font that I really like. It's called Product Sans. Product Sans Bold. Perfect. Nice. And we're actually going to hit here. We're going to go back to, if you want to, there's this plugin called Motion 3. It's a great plugin because you can move the anchor point around just by clicking here, and it'll totally move it around for you. So just by clicking on the center, it already centers the anchor point. However, if you don't have this plugin, you of course can go up here to this tool right here, pan behind anchor point, and you can click that and you could move it freely around. You could center it like there, like that. But this plugin right here is just very useful. It's just an example of how useful it can be. All you have to do is just click the center and it'll center it for you. Then you can go up to Align and align that straight by the composition. There you go, like that. Alright, after you do that, we're going to go down here and create a line by clicking the pen tool or hitting G. I'm just going to click right here, hold Shift, and then click again, and it'll create a straight line for us right there. Alright, we don't want fill, so we're gonna hold Alt, and we're going to double click until you get the cross out. So then we'll actually do this on the stroke and hold Alt, click it until you get a fill. We're gonna bring down the pixel of this to say 6. Let's actually raise that up to maybe 15. Perfect. And we're going to change the color of this to the text, and usually what I do is just click off the composition and use the colors that the project has here, just their color palette. It seems pretty nice and it works well with this color in the background. And we're just going to drop that a little bit lower, below the composition there. Awesome. Hold on, let me change the color for this one real quick. Maybe a lighter color. There we go, that's better. Okay. So after you do that, you're going to hit the text tool again. And you're going to write the subtitle. We're just going to write something like, "It really is." Like that. Alright. And we're going to lower the size of that to about 64. There we go. Awesome. I'm going to change the font to a font that I like as well. It's called, let me remember, Blacker Display. And we're going to change that to an italicized bold. There we go. Nice. Alright, like that. Let me actually raise the size of this just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to click off. Just bring that down like that. Awesome. Now we're just going to move all this real quick, just to center a little bit more. Because when you're doing motion graphics, the design and the composition really matter, because motion graphics is just an extension of graphic design. So you want to make sure everything's kind of aligned and centered, and that this is like flushed to the left if everything else is flushed to the left. There we go, perfect. Alright, let me just add an exclamation point right here. There we go, nice. And I'm going to move this just slightly. There we go. Oops. Awesome. Alright. So after you do that, what you're going to do is close all this. Perfect. So now we're going to actually hide these two, the subtitle and the line, right there. And we're just going to work with this video for now. So what we're going to do is now create these words that appear and they stay there, and then we're going to create those blocks. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So what you're going to want to do is go to here, or actually, sorry, here. And this is actually a good example to actually bring up our other plugin called Decompose Text. Essentially what this plugin does is that if you select here characters, it can basically break each individual character into its own separate layer. And if you click words, it'll break each individual word into its own separate layer. So let's, for example, choose this words right here, click words, and you hit decompose. It'll separate each individual word that you have here into its own separate layer. So if you hit Control U, so you can see that each individual one is on its own layer. And that's great because the alternative to that would have to be what you do is you have to delete everything one by one and then shift it over, and then you have to also remember the positioning of each one. You could duplicate it a bunch of times, and then you don't have to delete them one by one. So to avoid that, it's just really simple to, just hit decompose text, and it separates everything for you. The great thing about this plugin is that it's available. The creators of it made it available for free. All you have to do is go to decompose text at anescripts.com. You hit add to cart, and when you come up to cart, you could actually change the unit price to whatever you want. The creators made it so you could pay for what you want. So if you want to set it to 0, you could do that, and all you have to do is just pay 0. You'd pay anything out of your pocket. However, if you really like this decompose text like the way I do, and you appreciate it, definitely give them a little something for the hard work that they did to make that for you. But of course, if you want to, you can also get it for free. It's a great tool, and I definitely recommend using it. For the rest of this project, we're actually going to be using decompose text just for the sake of time and things like that. So, however, if you wanted to, you didn't want to get the plugin, although it's easily available to you for free, you can go ahead and duplicate each layer and basically delete each one and position it. But it will take a lot of time, and it's just easier and faster if you use plugins like these. Alright. Okay, so after you do that, we're just going to, let me just decompose this again. Oops. Alright, so you see that it separates each into individual layers. There we go, like that. And what we're gonna do is this the original text disappears. So next we're gonna move about 30 frames in. It's about half a second. All you have to do is just hit Shift, Control, and right arrow to move 10 frames. If you hold Control right arrow, it moves a frame at a time. Shift Control moves 10 frames. You can see that with the indicator that it has right there. So we're just going to go back. And we're going to move 3 whole 10 frames, so 30 frames, that's about half a second. Alright, so we're going to select all these right here. And we're going to hit Alt, close square bracket. Alright, so what that does is it trims the rest of the sequence off. And it just has the beginning to where it stops right here. And then we're gonna keep this selected, right click, and go to keyframe assistant and sequence those layers out like that. Okay, now make sure that when you do this you actually go from top to bottom. If you don't go from top to bottom, let me just show you what it does. It'll actually, the direction that it sequences the layers will be in the direction that you select them. So what I mean is, like, if you go from bottom to top and you keyframe assist, it'll go like that, like you're going up. But what we really want is for it to be going down. It's just easier to work with, and also it's the way that the words will appear when they show up on screen there. So keyframe assist, sequence the layers, and it goes down like that. Perfect. All right. Nice. So the words are appearing, however they disappear whenever we go past their sequence. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to move all the way to the end like that, and we're going to select all these out and Alt, close square bracket again, so that when they appear they stay there. All right, let's play that real quick to see what it looks like. There you go. Nice. All right. Oops. There we go. Cool. All right, so after we do that, what we're going to do is create some blocks that go over these, and then we're going to reveal them like that. All right. So let's go to about the middle of this one, and we're going to create a new shape. You can do that by hitting Q on the keyboard or just selecting right here. And what we're going to do is just cover these up like this. Oops, you don't want to have the stroke on, just so take the stroke off by hitting Alt a few times on the stroke, and it takes it off. And we're actually going to fill this up with another color, but to keep the colors consistent, we're going to go back to our Adobe colors. We're going to go back to the color palette, and we're going to select this nice rosy pink one right there. It copies it to the clipboard. Then we can just go here and paste it, and it's right there. Perfect, like that. That's what we want. All right, I'm just going to move this. So that's right there covering it. Awesome. There we go. All right. So after you do that, what you're going to want to do is actually just duplicate these a few times, and we're just going to cover the whole text with boxes. So let's hit Control D. And just move that over like that. Actually, what we want to do is actually extend these so that, sorry, my thing is rendering, so that it barely touches the next word right there. And then we're going to move this so it just begins right there. Doesn't have to be perfect, but if you can make it as perfect as you can be, that's the best way to do it. Move this a little bit to the center. There we go. Double click it. Expand right there. Alright, so after you do that, what we're going to want to do is go back to the beginning right here. We're going to move 30 frames again by holding Shift Control and then hitting the right arrow key 3 times. We're going to select these shapes and we're going to right click, keyframe assist, sequence those layers out, hit OK. Oops, wait, nope, see if we forgot to cut them off right here, or I forgot to. So we actually select all of them, hit Alt, close square bracket, then keyframe assist, sequence those layers out, sequence those layers. There we go. So now a little offset right there. I think because we moved it slightly. There we go. I just need to adjust a little bit there. So now, when these boxes disappear, it reveals the text. Basically what we're going to do now though is take this whole thing right here and actually shift it about, 30 frames, and so that it begins right around here where this one ends. So let's hit Control right there, and we're just going to shift these right there, perfect. So that this reveals it. Nice. Alright, so after you do that, we're actually going to go back to these layers right here, and what we're going to do is actually duplicate each one of these so they're like on top of each other. This one's a duplicate of that one, this one has a duplication of this one. So hit Control D, hit Control D, hit Control D, hit Control D, hit Control D to duplicate. Alright, and then we're going to go to the center of this sequence right here, and we're actually going to create a smaller rectangle that kind of shows in the beginning of ours right here. You see these ones, it looks like it's kind of like typing it, and that kind of sells the effect a little bit more. Alright, so go back here, and since we're actually going to leave this one alone, so I'm going to delete the first one. We're going to leave this one untouched. We're actually going to be working with these, so that the first thing that you see is a small rectangle and then it expands to the big one. So go to the middle of the sequence right there and select this one. First thing you want to do is hit close square bracket. This one you want to hit open square bracket, and for this one right here, just select it. We're actually going to double click it and then make it just like maybe a quarter of the size of the original one, and we're going to move that over here to about the edge of the S right there where this is, like that. Perfect. So that when the sequence begins, you see this box first, the small one, then the big one. It kind of expands there like that, and then you see the next word revealed. And so you're going to want to do that throughout for the whole thing right here. So let's do the second one again real quick. So go here like this, select these two, actually here like that, hit close square bracket, and for this one hit open square bracket, click the duplicated one, and double click this one, make it about 1/4 of a size, and you just move it to the end, right there like that. Nice. So that when it does it, it reveals a small one and then the big one. If you want to make it so it doesn't appear at the same time, you can of course go over, and I think it actually makes the effect a little bit better. You can go over here and zoom in like that and cut this frame out entirely so that when it pops up, you don't see it and it just reveals the bigger one like that. And it kind of solves the effect a little bit better, but that's up to you. If you want to do that, you just have to zoom in a little bit more. Doesn't take that much time, so I'll be doing that for this one. There, like that. Alright. So that when it appears, you see the big one disappears, and you see the bigger one. Get the smaller one disappears, you see the regular size one. And I'm just going to basically do this for these last two right here, so I'm going to speed through that real quick again. Alright, so once you finish, you should have something that looks sort of like this. Let's play it out real quick. So it reveals it, kind of types it out like that. Nice. Alright, this video is totally awesome. So, perfect. Alright. So after you do all that, you're going to select from this one right here all the way up to our shapes right here. And we're actually going to pre-compose that. And just call it motion. Or let's just call it title. Click OK. Alright, so now you have this. Alright, there's no underline yet or anything like that. And what we're going to do is, did I pre-compose? Oops. Okay, pre-compose everything except this layer and this layer. There we go. So you're only pre-composing this footage that we have here, not the hidden layers. Okay. It's totally awesome. All right. So now we're going to open these up like that. Very good. All right. Alright, so now what we're going to do is animate this line right here, and we're also going to animate this text being revealed right there. So the first thing you want to do is go to this line right here, and we're actually going to move ahead to where the final text is revealed, right around there. Just want to move it just a few frames. There we go, like right there. Once you get there, you're going to move it exactly 10 more frames like that. And we're going to open this up. We're going to go to add trim paths. I'm going to bring this right here. We're going to set the end to 0. And we're going to set the start to 0 as well. You're going to hit the stopwatch right there. It's going to open up a keyframe right there. and we're going to move ahead exactly 30 frames. 2, 3. Actually, I think we're going to want to move ahead about a second, so 3 more frames, or 30 more frames, there we go. And I'm going to set this to 100. Alright, like that. Awesome. So now what we have is this line zooming past, underlining the totally awesome. Alright, so this is what it looks like so far. Nice. And so what you're going to do is get these keyframes, and you're going to go down to here, Motion 3. Another great plugin, by the way. And the thing about this plugin is that if you just click this, it eases those in for you. Otherwise, you just have to right click there, and then, or actually, let me show you. You just have to ease those in, which is just easy ease, or hitting F9 and it eases those in for you. Or you can just hit this little square right here and it'll easy ease it for you. Alright. Oops. Yeah, like that. Alright, so that when you do it, it starts off really fast and then slows down. Like that. Nice. Alright. After you do that, we're going to go to where this line is now just over this text right here. So we're going to move just a few frames right there. Perfect. Alright, now we're going to go to this layer right here. It really is. We're going to click that layer. We're going to go to our square layer right here. And we're just going to draw a box from this line right here. So it reveals it. Right there. Just to the end of the little eye. Perfect, like that. Alright, we're going to open the mask layer right here, and we're going to see mask path. You're going to click the stopwatch right there, go to shape. Alright, and you're going to leave it all the same right there. Click OK. Remember that it was 5 by 7, that's fine. Now shift, hold control, and then the left arrow key and go back. Right there, and we're going to change the shape to 0. Like that, so that when it comes over it, it reveals the text, like that. Alright. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to select this one and this one right here, the title, and it really is, and we're going to change the parent and link to the shape layer. So now whatever we do to the shape layer, it will automatically do it to the other layers. So say we want to scale it up, it automatically scales it with it. So what we're going to do is go back to the beginning, and we're going to hit the stopwatch there. That's fine right there to 100. We're going to go to the end, and we're going to set this to 120, like that. So now when we go back to the beginning, what we see is this. Awesome. Alright, so after we do that, what we're going to do is actually add the highlighter that goes across totally awesome right there. So we're going to go to where the trim path finishes. Let's see here. You can see it right here. And just where it finishes, we're going to add in the highlighter. So to do that, we're just going to, really easy, you're just going to go ahead and click the pen tool, and you're going to make sure that the stroke is on to a nice yellow right there. Okay. And I'm going to turn off the fill, so hit Alt and click on it until it strikes out. And you don't want to raise this a bunch. Let's just see. So click here, hold Shift, go over, right there like that. Alright, so we're going to want to increase that just a little bit. There we go. And just bring that, oops, click off. Bring that down, and then raise that up, bring it down again, Oops. Like that. Oh jeez. There we go. Just want to move the shape. Just increase that a little bit. There we go. And actually change the color to a little bit darker. That's fine. All right, and we're going to change the opacity of that. You can click T to bring up the opacity and change it to about 45%, like that. All right, cool. And we're gonna just raise that up a little bit again. There you go. And once we do that, we're going to again do the same thing that we did on the layer here with the underline. We're just going to go to Add, Trim Paths, and we're going to open it up here. We're going to make sure that end is set to 0 and start is also set to 0. Click the stopwatch right there, like that, and we're just going to move about 60 frames, so a second. So you hold Shift, Control, and hit the right arrow key 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and bring this up to 100%, like that. Great. So you're also going to take these and easy ease them. You could either do that by hitting F9, which will easy ease those, or if you want, you could also use the motion 3. It's really great too. All right, whichever works for you guys. And then once you do that, you're going to go to Parent Link, and you're going to make sure that it's selected to Shape Layer, which is the underline right there, so that when you're playing it, it zooms in with it. So after you do all that, this is what we have. Sure, looks good. Nice. All right. So you created some boxes that reveal. Oh, it's kind of like being weird. All right. So you created some boxes that reveal the words right there. You created a nice trim paths underline that underlines the whole text. Then we also have a masking that reveals some text right there, and again another trim path that highlights all the words. And you also mess with the opacity to do some of that too, and you also zoomed everything in while you did that. So we looked at a lot of things today, and this is a great introduction to like motion graphics, and basically some basic principles of like motion graphics is just of course, you know, setting up the composition of it, working with colors. Color schemes are very important in design and anything visual. You know, the way you compose a you know, a visual is also really important too. The way you set it up, and how you pretty much play with it and animate it, the whole dynamic of it. And I hope through the next couple episodes I'm able to, you know, make other videos that illustrate that pretty well as well. So thank you for, you know, watching this video, and that's it. Thanks.